Of this video is to give you a quick overview of the new Customer Suspensions module in DataTill. Let's start with the setup. Go to your billing heading, Billing Setup, and then click on the Billing Setup option. Once the screen is loaded, scroll down until you find the Customer Account Suspensions settings. Ensure that this section is enabled. Next, you will need to determine the days till overdue, days till second warning, days till suspension, and temporary unsuspension in hours. Days till overdue. This will determine how many days after the due date of the invoice will become overdue. If your invoice due date was the 5th of March and you add 1 day here, this means on the 6th of March your invoice will be marked as overdue. You can now queue the customer for suspension and they will receive their first notification. Days till second warning. In other words, how many days after your first notification has been sent would you like the customer to receive their second notification? Days till suspension. In other words, how many days after your second notification has been sent would you like the customer account to be actually suspended? These settings will determine the global settings for all your customers, but you will also be able to customize these settings per individual customer. Then we have the temporary unsuspension in hours. The unsuspension hours will allow the customer to be active for a certain amount of hours to ensure that they can pay their account. You can either add 1 hour, 5 hours, or 24 hours if you want them to be unsuspended for a day. Next, you can see all your warning SMSs and emails. If you would not like the customers to receive SMSs, please remove all information from this field and leave the section blank. Next, I will show you how to start the suspension queue. You can either go to Workflow, Accounts Workflow, or to Billing, Account Suspensions. Let's go to the Accounts Workflow. You will see that this is a similar layout to the Sales Workflow. If we click on Suspensions, we will see 5 headings: Overdue, First Note, Second Note, Paused, and Suspended. Overdue is a list of all the customers with overdue accounts. First Note will give you a list of all customers who have received their first notification. Second Note will give you a list of all customers who have received their second notification. Paused will give you a list of all customers whose suspension has been paused. And Suspended will give you a list of all your customers whose accounts are currently suspended. On the right-hand side, we have different buttons. To disable their suspension, click on this button. To approve the suspension, you will need to click on this tick mark. If you would like to edit the individual suspension settings, click on the Edit Customer Suspension Settings button. Is suspension disabled? Yes or no? Would you like to use the default settings? Yes or no? If you choose no, you will be able to enter the suspension details for the specific customer here. After making any changes, click on the Save Changes button. Let's approve the customer for suspension. To do this, click on the red tick mark. Then click on Queue for suspension. The customer has now been queued for suspension and their first notification has been sent. If you would like to reset the customer suspension, click on the Reset button. This means the customer is no longer queued for suspension and the account will not be suspended after the number of total days. If the customer suspension continues, they will receive the second notification as per the time frame you've set up in your billing setup. After the second notification has been sent, the customer will eventually be suspended. If you need to reset their suspension, click on the Reset button. After the customer has been suspended, you will be able to see a list of the suspended customers here. From here, you can pause the suspension. It will show you that the customer account suspension will be paused for 1 hour. Click on Enable to pause the suspension. This will give the customer time to pay their account if need be. After 1 hour, the customer will be suspended again and the service will no longer be active. Please note that even though the customer goes through the queue suspension and even if the customer is suspended, it does not stop the customer's monthly billing. Billing will continue as per normal even though the customer is suspended. If you would like to resume the customer's suspension, you can click on the Resume Suspension button. In cases where you need to immediately suspend a customer, you can go to the customer profile, go to the Accounts Details section and click on the Edit button. Under Account Expiry, you will have your immediate account suspension. You can click on Suspend Now. Please note that this will not notify the customer though. If you are happy with this, click on the OK button and it will tell you that the account has been suspended on Tuesday the 6th of March at exactly what time as well. It will also show you who suspended the account. When you go back to your account's workflow, to your suspended option, there we can see the customer has been suspended. If you click on the Reset button, the customer's account will automatically be unsuspended. If you have any other questions or any concerns, please do not hesitate to phone the office or view the suspensions guide on the DataTill website.